She and her family and friends were put into a rudderless boat and set adrift at sea. Providentially, they washed up in Provence.
When the castaways finally made it to shore, no one would take them into their home. Mary Magdalene and her companions found shelter in a pagan temple, and there watched the locals gather to worship. Distressed by the spectacle of idolatry, Mary Magdalene began to preach.
She came forward, her manner calm and her face serene, and with well-chosen words called them away from the cult of idols and preached Christ fervently to them. The Golden Legend.
Mary had begun to convert the pagans, but it would take patience, perseverance, and help from heaven to complete the task. If she could convert the rulers of the region, the rest would follow suit. But the king and queen were skeptical, challenging Mary Magdalene to prove the power of the new faith. Mary had to provide them with a miracle. For years, the royal couple had struggled unsuccessfully to conceive an heir to the throne. They were desperate, and so willing to bargain with the foreign evangelist.
They said to her, "We are prepared to do whatever you tell us if you can obtain a son for us from the God whom you preach." The Blessed Mary prayed the Lord to deign to grant them a son. The Golden Legend.
Mary's prayer on their behalf was answered. The queen became pregnant and gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The little family accepted baptism, and Mary was able to convert the entire region. But now, Mary was finished with her public life.
Wishing to devote herself to heavenly contemplation, she retired to an empty wilderness and lived unknown for 30 years in a place made ready by the hands of angels. The Golden Legend.
In her isolated grotto, Mary is said to have cast off all earthly things, including her clothing. Her hair grew long and covered her unclothed body. She went without food or drink, fasting for 30 years.
Every day she was carried aloft by angels, and with bodily ears heard the glorious chants of the celestial hosts. And she was conveyed back to her own place by the same angels and needed no material nourishment. The Golden Legend.
Now, it's never exactly spelled out what she was doing up there in the ether, but I think that we can safely say that in a certain sense she was doing as a medieval mystic might do. She was, in a sense, communing with the divine and probably receiving a foretaste of the heavenly rewards.
One day, a Christian hermit saw angels returning Mary to her cave. In awe and terror, he approached the grotto, and Mary called out.
She said to him, "Because it has been revealed to me by the Lord that I am soon to depart from this world, please go to the Archbishop and take care to inform him that he is to go alone to his church, and there he will find me waited upon by angels." The Golden Legend.
The hermit delivered the message, and on the appointed day, the bishop indeed found Mary Magdalene herself in his church on the brink of death. There, he performed her last rites.
And here was this very, very powerful female saint coming to the church to show her obedience to the masculine institutional authority of the church in the very last hours of her life.
The earthly life of Mary Magdalene, Jesus' intimate friend and much-loved disciple, had finally drawn to a close. Perhaps the least acknowledged and most important of Jesus' followers, she left behind a legacy that has profoundly influenced Christians of every generation and every social class for thousands of years.
She can stand for several unfinished agendas in Christianity: the integration of the sexual and the spiritual, and the question of whether men and women can ever be real partners.
For women, she has been through the centuries an important figure to whom we could appeal for legitimacy, for the exercise of speech, for the presence in ministry, for discipleship, for stewardship, and so forth.
This is a woman who knew Jesus in a very close and personal way. And that's the desire of all Christians, to have this very close and intimate relationship with Jesus.
Leader and evangelist, mystic and prophet. To this day, Mary Magdalene continues to inspire both veneration and controversy.
In the Catholic Church, July 22nd is the feast day for St. Mary Magdalene. And so next month there will be hundreds of churches across the country holding services in her honor. It is part of a growing movement to highlight her role as an important leader in the early days of Christianity. And that in turn is part of a larger argument over the role of women in the Catholic Church, always a source of heated debate. So 2,000 years after she walked this earth, Mary Magdalene is still one of the most controversial figures in the Bible, but even more so, one of the most inspirational.